How often have you heard professionals saying that the bunkers are the easiest shot in golf, but have you found that? Certainly from my experience, the players don't. You know, amateur golfers find it difficult, often because one, they only have a technique that really works out of lovely fluffy sand. But what happens if your bunkers are rock hard and compact? What do you do then? Well, what I want to do today is first of all show you how to get out of bunker every time, no matter what sand you're playing in. Then what we'll do, step by step, I'll show you then how to control that distance so you can get it actually much closer to the flag. So come and have a quick look at this and let me explain what I want you to do when you're in a bunker, no matter what sand you're playing in. So when the sand is quite nice like this, what we can do is we want to actually basically hit about an inch or two behind the golf ball. And what happens is this club glides, underneath the golf ball on like a bed of sand like this, and that's what gets the ball up in the air. Those of you, if you're finding that you're kind of hitting the ball too far, it's often because you're actually hitting the golf ball first. We don't want to do that. Like I say, we glide, this club glides through the sand like this. Okay, that's the aim. Now, it is different if the sand is really compact. If this is like rock hard like this, okay, and we do this, watch what happens now. Look, you can see if this is really rock hard, if I was to glide now, what's going to hit the golf ball? Can you see how the leading edge is going to actually, the bounce of the club is going to bounce off this ground and you'll thin it straight into the face. So we need to make a couple of changes. We need to change the club, which I'm going to show you in a second, and you need to change the setup. But before we do all of that, let's find a simple way to get out every time first, and then what we'll do is we'll work on the precision. So here's what I want you to do. As I said, you don't hit the golf ball, you need to hit the sand. So you need to get used to hitting the sand, and very few people do this. So what I want you to do, really simply, is this. I want you to get yourself literally lined up to the target. I'm not going to worry about setup just for a second. Okay, this is what I do with all of my students when we're out on the golf course. We ain't got time to be messing about with people behind. We want something really quick to get out every time. I just simply get them to kind of focus on getting sand out towards the flag. Okay, so literally hitting sand towards the flag. I get themselves set up, ball position forward, and then all I'm going to focus on here is getting them to hit any form of sand, and literally, don't worry about the ball, focus on the sand, and literally push that sand out. What I might do is give them what's called a ghost ball. So look at this here, I'm going to put a ball mark behind this one here. Okay, that maybe becomes the focus, and all I'm going to do is simply focus on hitting sand and pushing that sand, towards the hole. Nothing more than that, okay? Now, how do I control distance? All I'm going to do here is when players ask me this, well, that's great, Danny, but what happens if the ball goes too far or doesn't get out? Well, look, if I want to have a short distance, I'm literally going to hit the sand a short way, but I'm pushing that sand forward. The second thing, if I want to have a longer distance, what I'm going to do, I'm going to push that sand further onto that green. So it's the simplest way I know of getting out or helping somebody keep flowing through the shot, as opposed to getting really nervous and jabby and scared of bunkers. Focus on getting the sand onto the green. That is one of the trickiest things I find with people initially. So do that as stage number one, and then what we'll do, once you've got that sense of that flow and sand being pushed in the direction of the flag, then we'll move on to step number two. Okay, so step number two, how do you get precision like that? So you're starting to get the flow, which is wonderful, which a lot of people don't have, and you're keeping it simple by allowing that sand just to kind of flow onto the green. But how do you make sure that the club lands in the correct spot? Because if you land way too far behind the ball, the club could actually still, you push sand forward, but you could still thin it. Yeah, so how do you kind of roughly guarantee the spot? And the great thing about bunkers is you don't have to be kind of like right next to the ball, or you can be within 2 or 3 inches and it still be okay. So the simplest thing I know is just make sure that you're set up correctly. So what I do here is I just have a simply wide stance, nice wide stance for stability. I keep my legs really, really still through this. I get my knee straight over my lead foot, and then all I do is I'm staying still. If I have narrow stances or allow myself to, my torso to move around, that's going to really affect where that club actually hits the sand. So I get myself set. Like I said, there's the ball. I'm going to put maybe even just put a a little mark there, roughly where I'm going to hit. I visualize that, okay, and then all I'm going to do now is stay nice and still and kind of focus on that spot and pushing the sand, look, out of the bunker. And I presto, we hit that shot, all right? So stay still. That will help maintain the entry point of your bunker play, okay? But what about hard sand? What about too much sand? What do you do? Well, that moves us on to step number 3. How deep do you go? We talked about getting the sand towards the hull, but I don't want you to empty the bunker, go too deep. But I also don't want you to take just a few grains, because that will probably just thin the ball over the back of the green. So we need to focus on depth. So I want you to imagine this. You're in the garden with your spade, okay? And you've got this lovely, soft, beautiful soil. And you want to just move that soil around. Well, you can just dig it like this, can't you? And then just toss it around. Notice where my body position is there. But what would you do if it was concrete? What would you do with the spade? You'd go steeper, wouldn't you, right? What's happening to my body? It's a bit more over here. I'm going steeper into the soil, and then I'm going to then throw it. No different, okay, to what you're doing when you're playing golf, okay, out of bunkers. When it's soft sand, my body's going to be much more here, and I can then dig or throw the sand this way. But when it's rock hard, I'm going to be more here now, and I'm going to be throwing the sand. I've got, in order to actually throw some sand, I'm going to have to dig into it a bit more, okay? So with that in mind, we're actually going to change the implements, okay? So I've just been using out of the bunker there a 56-degree wedge with it's my Callaway Jaws wedge with a 10-degree bounce. I'm actually, when I'm going into hard sand, I'm actually going to go to a 60-degree. Now I've actually got here 8 degrees of bounce. I don't play a lot of hard bunkers, but if I was, I'd probably go for a little bit less. I'd go for a 6, I'd go for more like a 4-degree. Now, for those of you not sure what bounce is simply this little thing here. When the club shaft's vertical, leading edge, this little thing here, look, the difference in leading edge and bounce, this is your bounce here, okay? This is gonna help you, but bounce is not your friend in rock hard bunkers. When the bunker's rock hard, look at this here, I've just taken all the sand out there, looks rock hard. What we do is different. We get the spade, look, from this standard position here where my body's here. I am now, look, gonna move my body more this way. Why? Because I want to get more of a dig into the sand. I might even move my ball back just a fraction. Why? Again, because I need to get in. If I want to push this sand out, I've got to get into the sand. The second thing, in a lovely soft bunker, I might release the club, releasing the bounce through. In a kind of rock hard bunker, I'm actually going to be, look, finishing much more here. Why? Because I need the leading edge, look, digging and coming out like this. So one of the things you're going to need to do is you're going to change your approach to the whatever sand you're in. If it's soft, you know, don't dig in, that's going to get too much sand. If it's rock hard, you're going to have to move the ball back. You're going to have to maybe go to a 6-degree wedge with a nice low amount of bounce so that you can get into that sand, okay? So remember, keep bunkers really, really simple. You know, steps 2 and 3 about precision. If you're struggling, just place it, get the ball out, just get used to hitting sand and throwing that sand out onto the green. Once you've done that and you've got that lovely flow in your swing, start to move towards some precision. Wider stance. Let's get hitting the sand in the right spot every single time. Then start to work on playing around with different sands, hard sand, changing your club. Hope this helps. If it does, share it with somebody who you know who's going to need some bunker help. And of course, look, there's a free practice plan in the description box below, so you don't have to remember a thing. Plus, if you're new to the channel, press that subscribe button right here. And if you love these kind of lessons, I've got a brilliant short game lesson here, which goes into just chipping and pitching, which I'm sure you'll love. But until next week, have a great golfing week.